Welcome, everyone. My name is Liz Scott, and I think that being with all of you is one of the most exciting things I get to do. I love my community. I am over the moon to be able to offer any assistance and share with you what not to do, because I've made plenty of mistakes in my in my past, and then be able to bring to you options that work. And workflows is always something that I love talking about. Training, I think it's important to train your team. So I spend a lot of my time building trainings for applications for our community. So that is where I get to spend my day. And then every once in a while, I get to hang out with my bestie and we get to build content together. And so, Heather Satterley, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. So above all else, I'm a CPA. I've been an accounting nerd for a good 30 years now. And I am now the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. So right now I am up to my eyeballs in doing quality assurance on all of our PowerPoint decks and working with our incredible instructors that are going to be bringing all that magic to Orlando next week, which is super exciting. It's right around the corner. And Shawn and Liz are both, you're two of those fabulous instructors that we're going to be having at Scaling New Heights. So my passion is helping those feel excited. I was going to say feel a little less afraid of technology, but it's not that. I want people to feel excited about technology and automation and leveraging technology to make their lives easier, make their lives better, and help their clients. So that is my thing. And so really excited to be with all of you today. So Shawn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for letting me join in on this amazing community. I just love the idea of having a kind of a more relaxed atmosphere and just having this knowledge share session. So really appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity. And I'm using this headset, so I'm not used to it. It's new. So if I sound a little funny, I can just take it out and go rogue. But yeah, I've been in the inventory space working with accountants for over 10 years. Started out actually working at a manufacturer and implementing their ERP solution, and ended up working for that ERP company and doing implementations for a long period of time. And often when you're doing inventory implementations, a big part of that is working with the accountants and making sure that everything is rolling up to the financials as expected. And so we've really been involved in it, and kind of, I guess, got passionate about technology even before that, working with my dad. So my dad owns a plumbing company, and every Friday night he would be doing his payroll, and he'd manually be writing out all his payroll hours for his employees, and it would take him hours every Friday night. Usually through dinner time, he'd be doing the payroll. And as I sort of was going through university, I learned about some payroll software in one of my courses and helped my dad actually implement payroll software in his business. And it was kind of neat coming home from university, and those Friday nights where he would typically have been doing payroll, he was sitting at dinner eating with us and actually spending time with us. So it was kind of cool seeing how implementing the right technology for a problem can actually free up these business owners to spend a bit more time with their families. And it's kind of what got me really hooked on helping businesses find efficiencies.
That's a great story. And the success that you're sharing, I think that that's what we want for all of our own lives, our personal firms, and then also for our clients. So that the big successes is why we do what we do.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was just having, just a side note, I was just having a really nice conversation with a firm owner who's out in Vancouver. And she was talking about sort of why she does certain things in her firm. And she's like, at the end of the day, I'm trying to build a business that I can eventually sell and I can retire. And she was saying how if I'm building my business on technology that's on premise, it actually devalues my practice because I don't have sort of this reoccurring revenue model and this approach. And she says, if I do it right, I can actually get 4 times what my annual revenue is. And so it was a really interesting thing that I had never even thought of with regards to how you focus on building your practice. You using the right technology can not only support, efficiencies within your business and your client's business, but also make your actual practice worth more when you maybe want to make a transition in your life. So I thought that was a really cool learning for me that I just had a great conversation around today.
I absolutely think that we hear that quite often, is that firms are looking at what's their exit strategy. In fact, even new firms, whenever we've had a couple of firm spotlights and they come on and they talk about beginning stages, they're thinking about what does it look like whenever they exit. And technology is a big part of that, because you need to be able to have a clear process, and technology does bring in that process. What we're always looking for is does your entire team know what that process is? Do you know which technology fits your own internal process? So I think that whenever I put into our group chat that we're talking about the big scary thing, inventory, today, but when it comes to mind that we've got a client who calls and talks to us about inventory, that is a technology that we know, most often they're going to need one, but how do we implement it? What do we do with it? How do we share in that responsibility of it? Because many of us know that when you start talking about inventory, there has to be somebody who manages it. So we want to do the right thing by bringing the tech to our clients. That doesn't mean that we always have to be complete hands-on. And so that was one of the things that Heather and I looked for, was a inventory solution that would partner with accountants in order to help the client.
Yeah, it's a really, really big focus for Katana when we kind of look at some of the accounting firms that we partner with, and some of them are big national firms, some of them are small, bookkeeping, companies that just have a couple individuals. And the one thing that sort of always comes across, there's two main factors that are pretty common. One is that the solution is easy to use so that they can understand it, they can help their client utilize the software. But the other is the support piece. How is the client going to be supported? How is my firm going to be supported, so that you're not left out to kind of dry with the situation that you're trying to help your customer on? And so that's where we really do try and focus on finding those that really sweet spot for accounting firms, finding a solution that they understand, can navigate, can work with, but also when they do have a question, when they're not sure what to go to, whether it's additional technology in the tech stack, or just understanding how things roll up within reporting, how things integrate with QuickBooks or whatever the financial solution they're using, they have an individual that's dedicated to actually working with them, so that they, build a relationship with that person. And, that's a key part of their practice, and building those sort of relationships and those partnerships to help their firm thrive and grow with their clients.
Well, thank you for sharing some of that insight. I want to say thank you to our sponsors. So Heather, do you mind pulling up that next slide? So Katana is one of our sponsors, and we are glad to be doing the deep dive today. And I want to say thank you to our other sponsors who have been a fan of Appy Hour, who continue to support our community. Many of them are going to be at conference next week. Some of them are at a variety of different conferences that are happening this year. So when you see one of these sponsors, go over, listen to, if there's something more that you want to learn, go in and ask questions, dive in. That's whenever I feel like I learn the most, is at the conference, because of coming to, groups like this to see some demos. And then I go over and I'm prepared and I ask my questions and be able to figure out, are they going to be a good fit for my particular client? Build those relationships. So conferencing and community is very important to all of us. So thank you to our sponsors.
Absolutely. This wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. So it's very, very grateful for sure. All right. So our agenda today is, we have welcomed you. You have officially been welcomed to Appy Hour. Thanks for joining us. we're going to go ahead and raise. Oh, we're not going to raise a toast. We were going to raise a toast, and
Oh, I've been raising.
you've been raising. Oh, you've got
I
yours.
haven't.
They're just so pretty. We'll get there for sure. So, all right. So inventory management pain points, one of the biggest ones that we see is integration issues, inventory workflow, not having that accurate visibility and the projections and forecasting that we have within, as we're trying to work with our clients with inventory, right? I actually started, I don't know if you knew this, Liz. I'm sure you did, but I don't know if everybody else knew. I started my accounting career as an inventory clerk. So my very first accounting job I was actually brought in to help with inventory, and I was the person that counted all of the inventory and then set it up. I first set it up in real world software. Do you guys, anybody remember real world software? So I set it up in real world software, which was on, MS-DOS, I think. And that was like my first start. And then I immediately went into, like, after, I moved back to Rhode Island, and I got a job with a account temps, which was a temp agency. But because I had the knowledge of setting up inventory, that's where they would send me, as I would go to these manufacturers and I would set up their automated inventory, or not automated, it wasn't automated, but it was data entry inventory in real world software. And that was before I had learned QuickBooks. So definitely know and have worked with many clients. Inventory was actually one of my specialties when I was in practice. So definitely a topic near and dear to my heart. And Candy remembers real world too. I think that may have been before both of your times. I'm aging myself at this point.
I don't
love
remember
that you did
real
that.
world, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was one of those with the black screen with the green letters. That
Oh
was,
yeah. Well, I've seen a
yeah.
lot of those systems for sure.
Oh yeah. And you had to post, you'd like put everything in, and then you'd have to actually hit a button to actually post it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you there's no mouse, right? So you'd use like F keys to like navigate
yes.
through the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
F1, Jason. Thank you, Jason.
Well,
Yes.
what we have grown into are our clients are selling online, and that's creating an inventory big shift.
Mm.
And so this idea of sales channels being connected to inventory is making it much more complex.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so now being able to look at that data and use the data from various different vantage points is super important. Oh, there's definitely been a shift in the way that we use inventory and options that are available to us.
Definitely. And, I think we've all, for those of us that have worked with clients on inventory, we've seen it go bad, right? We've seen it, our client they tried to set it up themselves, or they didn't quite know what they're doing. And it's so nice to now have technology where it's not that complicated to set it up, that it actually works seamlessly with the sales channels that you're working with and with the accounting software. So I'm excited to dig into that with you, Shawn. So I'm going to go ahead and raise a toast.
Let's do this. So Jen, yum, and lemon juice and the sparkling wine. That's where it got fancy.
It did get fancy. This is one of our fancier drinks that we've had on Happy Hour. So, and very good.
Well, at Katana, we're pretty fancy. We
Yeah.
like to, dress up on the occasion.
Yeah.
This is actually, I am a gin fan. So typically, if it's a, Friday evening cocktail or something like that, I might get a little bit fancier, and this would be, but I don't always have sparkling wine on hand. So in that case, I might just use some like sparkling water or something like that instead. But it is a drink that we have at the household, that my wife and I actually often are having gin cocktails on a Friday or Saturday night.
Well, this was a new one to me, so thanks for the introduction to it. I will
Definitely.
repeat. We have got demos galore today, and there is going to be a big passing of the presentation over to you, Shawn. Are you ready?
I mean, I am ready, so I can go ahead
All
and
right. I'm
share
gonna
my
stop
screen.
sharing and let
Awesome.
you take the reins, Shawn.
All right, sounds good. I'll go ahead and share. It's popping up here, and I can go into slideshow mode. We've seen some of these slides already, so I'll just, we did the cocktail, had our drink, we're ready to go. And we're now going to do a little bit of a deep dive into Katana. So as we're going through a couple slides and then getting into the demonstration, I do want to invite people to ask questions. Heather and Liz will monitor it. I'll do my best. Sometimes it's hard to watch the questions as they do come in, but feel free. I am an open book and hope I can answer any questions that do come up so that we all walk away today with a bit more of an understanding around how you can manage your inventory or help your client manage your inventory, and then how that all rolls in to the financial system. As Liz kind of alluded to, there's essentially two types of businesses we're seeing today that manage inventory. You have your traditional businesses that are, kind of buy and sell, B2B or manufacturers. And then you have these new age businesses that are popping up and can go to market super rapidly with a new product, and they can sell through tons of different sales channels. And then you see the hybrid where you have some of those new age businesses that are like, hey, if we want to continue to scale our business, we're going to have to go and add in some of these new sales channels to really, spin up a product and, expand our solution offering and keep growing. And with that, you now have this complexity in businesses that you didn't see maybe even 5 to 10 years ago for sure. That businesses can really expand and grow, which is a huge opportunity through technology. But with that comes complexity, and who's left to clean it up? It's the bookkeepers and the accountants. And that's why, by empowering yourself with some knowledge around how these businesses are selling their product and how they can better manage their inventory, it's going to really allow you to add so much more value to these businesses that we know are the number one area businesses are growing, certainly in North America. So what are the three biggest business objectives that we're hearing from accounting firms today? So I've spoken with about 100 accounting firms this year. And with those conversations, there was three common communication points that we were hearing consistently. So one is businesses are trying to increase their outsourced service offering. The second is they're trying to retain their clients as well as their employees. And then third, they're trying to attract that next generation workforce. And so if we think of the first one with outsourced business service offering, you're looking at your existing client base and how can we go beyond just bookkeeping or just making sure their taxes are accurate at the end of the year. And that's where you can look at additional service offering and analytics that help you extend your value proposition, but also the time you're spending with that company, and potentially moving more to, instead of billing hourly, billing on a monthly basis for a specific service that you might be providing. And that also helps you retain those clients because you're now pulling in additional or adding additional value to that business. It makes it much more difficult for them to find another bookkeeper that can provide maybe a similar service if you've learned or focused on a specific area that you can help that business grow and thrive, as well as retaining employees. So if the employee, is doing really repetitive tasks, and the only way that they can really expand within the practice is by just working more hours, that can be, challenging for that employee. But if there's an opportunity to learn a new skill set and to use that skill set to add more value, that's a really interesting perspective, and an interesting story around that. If you look at Ledger Guru, so Ledger Guru, maybe some people here might be familiar with that firm, but they actually started a division within the accounting firm that focused on e-commerce inventory clients. And they brought on 3 individuals to help manage that aspect of the firm. So they brought on 3 new employees, and those employees, grew that service offering within the business. So it's just an example of a way that you can increase and retain or grow, new employees within your practice by focusing on a new area and service offering. And that can help you also attract the next generation. So if you're utilizing on-premise solutions like desktop, and you're really focused on a very similar offering that you've been doing for the past maybe 10 years or so, bringing in that next generation workforce might be challenging. But if you can expand that service offering to, again, add more value to those clients, it becomes a little bit more interesting. Like, how are we working with those e-commerce channels and finding the optimal workflow in the different technology stacks that are available can really help you retain and add new clients, employees, by giving them and empowering them through technology. And they can pick it up faster than anything because they're used to using technology. I didn't have a cell phone till I was like 20 years old. So, using technology is something I had to learn. But the next generation, they've been, having the technology at their fingertips for their entire lives. So what are the accounting firms struggling with when we had those conversations? So often the client base is utilizing on-premise software where it's making it difficult for the practice to extend their service offering. So if you don't have access to their accounting solution more easily, it's difficult for you to really get into that analytical space. And when I was at another accounting firm, Riemann, so I was on site there, they're in Detroit actually. They were saying, well, and I was talking to Christine Hoke, and she said, one of the challenges is on a monthly basis, I'm spending so much time just getting the books right and accurate that I don't have any more additional time to actually move into that analytical value added area within the practice or within working with that client. And so that's a way that they're looking at it and saying, well, if we can move them to a cloud-based solution that has that perpetual inventory where it's integrated directly with Katana, that allows them to move away from this just getting the books right approach and already having the financials accurate and the reports, representing the company well, so they can now start to look at, okay, where is our most profitable products? What vendors are providing us the products with the shortest lead time? And so it really helps you add much more value into that business by bringing actionable things that you can help that business owner make good decisions. And then often what they're seeing is their clients are on different versions of the software. So for you to learn software, it's a challenge and it's time consuming. So if all of your clients are on different versions of the software and it's non-premise solution, not only can't you access it, but if you could access it, it's not familiar to you because they're all in these different forms of the solution. And so many large firms are trying to standardize what their clients are utilizing. So they're saying our clients need to be utilizing QuickBooks Online for their financials, and they need to be using Shopify as their main point of sale and e-commerce solution. And for their inventory, they need to be using something like Katana to help them manage that. So when they go in and support that client, they know the best practices within that software or solution tech stack, and it helps them add more value to that business. And then one of the biggest challenges is those industry specific use cases, manufacturing, inventory, construction. What's another one that comes up? Agriculture, for example. So you have these industry specific situations where QuickBooks Online doesn't exactly have all the features and functions that a business would need. So it makes it difficult for you to transition that client from the QuickBooks Desktop product to QuickBooks Online. And that's where having those partners in technology can help you transition those clients over, move into a cloud-based environment, and allow you to add much more value. And that's really that best of breed approach that we're talking about. So it's finding what are the optimal solutions when you think of the overall business that can help the business work and operate more efficiently, and that all work together quite well within that platform. And so that's where Katana integrates with QuickBooks Online. We pull in those orders from Shopify, BigCommerce, Amazon, and then we work well with CRM solutions like HubSpot or shipping products like ShipStation. And so it creates this ecosystem that you can become familiar with, as well as you can leverage someone like Katana or even our partners to learn more about what solutions do integrate well. So we know that we integrate well with QuickBooks Online, but if the client that you're working with is, exploring, expanding into different sales channels, what are some of the sales channels our customers are having success with? And that's where that support piece in working with Katana and having a dedicated manager that works with your firm can really help you identify what are the optimal solutions that you can introduce to the client and say, hey, this is what a lot of the customers at Katana are currently using to have success in growing their business through e-commerce. So maybe it's Shopify, and then maybe it's an Amazon, or maybe they're using Etsy, and we can help you identify what some of those sales channels are and your client explore them.
This is exactly what we're seeing. As we're seeing, clients who are using inventory usually have some type of scenario like this. If they're big enough, then they're, using HubSpot. But it really doesn't matter which sales channels that they're using. These workflows are what we have to wrap our head around in order to be able to understand the process.
Yeah, exactly. And I can talk through some of the workflows specifically today. In the demonstration that we'll go through, I'll explain how an order from Shopify can make its way directly into Katana. And there's a couple different options there. If they're high volume, and I talked to Rachel about this, Rachel Dachi, who we were speaking to a couple weeks ago. If it's a high volume e-commerce business, well, the workflow is a little bit different than if they're a lower volume e-commerce business. That how you would set up that integration, because if they're high volume, you might want the sales to go over, the revenue to go over in summary to QuickBooks via something like Cinder, or if they're low volume, it can just go through Katana and we can report on a transaction level over into QuickBooks Online. So it really depends then in that scenario on, essentially how that business operates. But that's where working with, again, Katana, we can help, coach you on the client and work with the client directly if you'd like on finding the optimal workflow that works for their business.
I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for your comment. And this was a quote from Rachel and how she sort of utilized Katana to help gain some expertise in inventory. And she actually comes, I don't know if she told her story, but she has an interesting one where she worked at a bottling, manufacturing and inventory company. And she was part of the accounting and inventory side of the business, I guess, similar to what Heather was doing previously. And so Rachel had this experience with inventory management at a larger business. And then when she decided to start her own bookkeeping practice, she sort of navigated or found herself having success with clients that also managed inventory, because there was a market opportunity there. Often businesses that are managing inventory, bookkeepers are shying away from because it's a little bit more complicated, but that's where you can add more value and there's less competition. And so in that, she realized that, wow, there's a lot of businesses today that are growing through e-commerce. And if I can learn how businesses are selling through Shopify and how they can manage their inventory, and then how that would tie into QuickBooks Online, I really can find a great solution for my customers. So she actually went and started her own business, separate from her bookkeeping business, actually selling like accounting swag. Like it might be like funny puns on a shirt or a coffee mug, not really to make profit, but she just actually wanted to know, how does this all work? So she went and built it and did it herself, because then she could guide her clients through making those decisions on her own. And it was a really wonderful way for her to really become an expert in that technology stack. And it's cool talking to Rachel, because she's got such a sort of dive in and find the solution mentality. And so she's been a lot of fun to work with, and we've seen her business grow with Katana over the last couple of years. So it's been pretty fun to work with her. So how does Katana help businesses? And we'll get into the demo here shortly, but we provide that real-time inventory insight. And that's one of the biggest challenges businesses have today, is making decisions based on accurate information. So from when I was implementing software, often business owners are working off of Excel sheets, understanding what their inventory is today. And, most of the time it isn't accurate. So you'll see that the carpet running into the purchaser's office is completely worn out, or out to the back of the warehouse, where they need to go and check how much inventory they have and can they fulfill that sales order. And that's where Katana can really help a business be much more efficient, because the inventory insights are all in real time, and you can see exactly what your demand is, how much you have in stock, what you can fulfill, and you have the stoplight functionality that makes it super easy to know what you need to do in action. And we have that built-in purchase order management workflow that helps it flow directly from your demand all the way through to buying the product and receiving it in, and then having that accounting transaction made in real time. We work with all the different sales channels. So, pulling in those orders from Shopify, Amazon, whatever the case may be, we can pull those all into Katana, create that demand, and help your client fulfill the order seamlessly. We work also with manufacturing. So it's not only buy and sell, but we do have that sort of complexity handled within Katana around raw material and creating finished goods, including operational costs. So if there's some operations from, the shop floor where there's different steps involved in producing that product, we can track that time. So you have a really accurate cost of goods sold. And we focus on providing that solution that's really easy to use and navigate. So we, add all this functionality into a tool that would be similar to you utilizing something on your personal life. So, when you're navigating through Instagram or your Outlook or your email, the tools need to be, or Gmail, for example, need to be relatively easy. But they have all this functionality that you can kind of figure out on your own. And that's kind of Katana's approach, is we want to build software that the business owner can almost figure it out on their own with the right coaching through the process, and enabling the accounting firms to help them out as well. So with QuickBooks Online, we talked about this all already, but we really do offer this comprehensive solution when you combine QuickBooks Online and Katana together as a tech stack. I won't get into this stuff because we kind of already just talked about it. But there's a fun picture of our office. Our head office is in Estonia, so Christian is like 7 feet tall. He's our CEO. Just a fun little fact.
That's great. Well,
All
and I
right.
saw a hoodie on there earlier, so it was a really nice looking hoodie that was, I think, on your very first slide.
Oh, the Katana hoodie. Yes.
Yeah.
That is a great point. At the Scaling New Heights, we are going to have some really, really cool swag. You can see Hannes, who's one of our founders. These are our 3 founders, Preet, Hannes, and Christian. And you can see Hannes is wearing a really nice black sweater there. We will have some really cool sweaters and hoodies. And it's going to be in Florida in June, so it's going to be a little warm. You might not need to wear the sweater, but sometimes in those trade shows it can get a little cold with the AC cranking. But we will have some nice swag to give away for sure.
Well, and most of us work at our desks in our home offices, and sweatshirts are welcomed all year round.
Exactly. As you can see, I'm in my home office and I've got some nice artwork that's been put together by my children.
You have brilliant artwork behind you.
Thank you. All right. So what are we going to do? And I'll just check the time. All right. We got good time. Any questions that I can answer before diving into the software?
No, but I love that you're opening that up, because probably while you're doing the demo, there will be some questions that come in. And so anybody who's got questions, Heather and I will forward those over to Shawn, so that way we can ask them while he's going along.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I am going to exit here. So let's go in and we'll just start over here. I can't remember what did I say I was going to show. So we're going to keep your inventory value accurate, dive through the reporting, show you how the COGS are created in Katana, and then how we can help you optimize your inventory through the solution. So let's first talk about how the orders actually get into the system. So we're going to kind of go through the workflow of sales order demand coming in from an e-commerce channel, how that gets into Katana, and then what do we need to do with that? Do we need to go and make something, buy something? How can we plan out our inventory? So kind of walking through that workflow all the way to building a purchase order. And from that purchase order, we're going to go and land the cost associated with that purchase order, send it over into QuickBooks Online. And so I'll explain the integration with QuickBooks as we're going through and doing some of these workflow transactions within the system. And definitely invite you to ask questions, specific use cases that you might have, and I'll do my best to talk through them. And then we'll wrap it all up with the insights. So we'll talk through sort of the analytics that you gain with Katana around purchasing, profitability, that can really help you add value to your conversations with your clients. So starting things off, I'm actually going to take a look over here, and we're actually in Shopify. So in Shopify, we have all of these orders in the system. So I'll just leave this page. So I've got all these orders in Shopify, and we can see that they're coming in real time, on your cart on your website often. And we've got different pricing set up within the system, and we have all these different products in our system. So I've got Alpha Brain. If you know Joe Rogan, he's got this Alpha Brain product. We don't represent Joe Rogan or Alpha Brain or anything. I tried it and I had it on my desk, so I created a product out of it. If you guys are fans of Majuri, I've got a Majuri ring box here. This was for my wife, the Charlotte ring, and there's a little barcode on the back, so we can go and take an order for the Majuri ring. But the cool thing about this, if I go into, for example, Alpha Brain, we can see in Shopify, I have, my price point, what my cost per item is, how much margin I'm making, and I can see here my inventory. So we're actually syncing the inventory in Katana into Shopify. And when you talk about a business and how they're selling things today, we talked about this earlier, Liz, businesses are selling through multiple sales channels. So being able to sync how much inventory you actually have across your different e-commerce channels is really important. And so that's one thing that Katana can help your clients do, is make sure that across their sales channels, they're representing how much inventory they actually have in stock and that they can fulfill. So we have this inventory sync functionality available.
I love that. And I'll just share with you, I have recently worked with a client that they were moving through an Excel doc, and one group was taking all of the inventory over to Amazon. Another group was taking it to Shopify. And so they were, this back and forth document to see where things were in transit. And it was just it could be simpler. So seeing that you've got one place to enter the inventory and then understanding that you can connect those sales channels, that's great.
It is. It is. Having it a single source of truth is so vital.
Yeah, exactly. And so as those orders come in, they're going to make their way directly into your sales screen here, across all those different sales channels. So it could be a point of sale location. It could also be your e-commerce stores. And we do have multiple locations available within Katana. So you could have, so some businesses do it this way, where they set up their Amazon. They want all their Amazon stuff to go to a specific location, just because they manage that inventory separately from kind of the rest of the business. They might have their point of sale, often their point of sale brick and mortar stores have their own inventory, and then they have their e-commerce online sales and inventory channel set up. And those can all roll up into that QuickBooks Online account. Okay, so you can have multiple locations in Katana. And so those sales orders are getting routed to the appropriate location, and they're listed out here. And you can see, for example, that Shopify, one of the orders has come in here. And if I did want to click back and open up that order in Shopify, it is all linked up here. So I pop right over to that Shopify order, and someone had ordered cheese online. And interestingly enough, there are businesses that are selling food online, such as cheese. And this was actually a customer in Italy that was moving forward with Katana. I was in Italy 2 weeks ago. We have a partner up there, and it was a work trip. So awesome work trip. I highly recommend trying to do business in Italy. All right. So when we look at this order, for example, that came in from Shopify, so we can see 1008. And the nice thing is I can go and filter this down. So if I just wanted to look at, orders from a specific customer, you'll see this throughout the solution. Oh, I guess I left it up and running too long. It's making me log back in. So one quick second here. There we go. So 1008 we can see is listed out here. And just to kind of simplify the screen, I wanted to explain. So 1008 is the order that we're looking at. and we can see the expected sales item. So first, actually, we see our delivery deadline. So this is completed or due in April, and we're not going to be able to fulfill that because our expected completion date is actually June 12th. So we're highlighting this in red because we know that we're not going to be able to hit that delivery deadline. And then we've got some color coding going on here. So yellow means that we currently don't have the finished good inventory in stock. It's not available, but there is a purchase order or a manufacturing order in the system that can help me fulfill that order. We also have our ingredients. So if there's materials that are used to make your finished product, we're able to actually see right on the sales screen, do we have those ingredients available? And then production, is this a job in production or on the manufacturing shop floor? And what stage is it in? So right on this sales screen, we're able to answer a lot of questions that businesses often have a hard time answering just in general without having to go out to the shop floor and see what they either have in stock or where a job is at in production. So really cutting down on the amount of time businesses have to try and communicate with each other to actually answer a customer's question. So it's a really nice way that Katana can help businesses make better decisions by giving them that visibility up front. So you think of a salesperson that's trying to take an order from a customer, how long is it going to take for them to get it? They can just pop in that quote or sales order and they can make those decisions really quickly. So yellow means slow down. We can't move forward with it right away. Green means go. We can go fast and ship this product out. Red means that we don't have this in stock. So that means that we don't have the inventory available. You either need to go out and buy it or make it in order to fulfill it. Okay, so right from this screen, I can do a couple of things. One is I can go and look at, for example, we see this order here, 10008. I can see what manufacturing order is listed out here, and I can go and click on that and jump right into the manufacturing order. If I wanted to just click on the sales order itself, take a look at what that looks like, we can see here just some general information. We know it came in from Shopify. We can see the currency that this was sold in. So it was sold in Canadian dollars. Katana can handle multi-currency. We can see the product that we sold was cheese. We do also have some additional custom fields associated to it. So we've got a picture and a VAT code. We also have some customer requirements here that says pack nicely. So those are custom attributes that can be added in. And these are getting pulled in also from Shopify. We've got the sales item here, what's in stock and what's in production. And I can go in here and see what currently for this cheese is committed. So we've got 6 pieces that are committed. We've got 23 that are expected on a manufacturing order today. So we're actually still short 11 based on our total demand. And I can go and see the manufacturing orders that are in the system here. So if I wanted to go and dive into any one of these manufacturing orders, I can just go click right there, and that'll take me directly to the manufacturing order itself. So this gives me visibility from the sales order right into the manufacturing order. So this is where, in this case, we're actually producing cheese, and I can see the planned quantity that we're going to produce, how much we actually ended up producing. It is a batch tracked item. So for food, we work often well with companies that have traceability requirements. So like food and beverage businesses, medical businesses, and other sorts of businesses that have some sort of traceability requirement. So we batch trackable from the finished good through to the raw material. And we can see the different ingredients that are going into this. Milk, lemon, and salt are what you require in order to make cheese. I learned this in actually working with the cheese manufacturer. And then it goes through a simple process of heat, straining, and pressing in order to actually produce the product. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that I've got costs associated to not only your products or your materials that are going into it, but also your operations. And you can assign these operations to individuals on the shop floor. So if you do work with manufacturers, if we look at all of our manufacturing orders within the system, you have the ability to schedule those orders within the system and assign those tasks out to the shop floor. and track in real time how long it's taking those employees to work on those jobs. So this helps in a couple of ways. So one, it helps your employees ensure that they're working on the right jobs at the right time because you're prioritizing your jobs, but also it helps ensure you really understand where you're profitable. So if you are seeing that the time it takes you to actually manufacture something is increasing significantly, you're going to capture that really quickly and see that in real time. And it's not going to be a month later before you realize, oh, we're actually not making money on this. And it's probably more applicable on the raw material side of things. For example, Katana did a study with our customers. We got 1,700 customers, and quite a few of them are in the food and beverage space. Our food and beverage customers in 2023 saw a 230% increase in the cost of raw material. So you can imagine how challenging it would be to run a business if your raw material cost is doubling throughout the year. If you don't have good visibility into your cost of goods sold down to the sort of product level, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what you need to increase your sell price on, to make sure that you're not losing your shirt on sales orders. And so that's something that Katana can really help out with. So I talked a lot there about a bunch of different stuff, but was there any questions that I could answer before maybe taking a look at how we might schedule the shop floor and then actually take a quick look at that shop floor application?
I think everybody is just following along with what you were showing with I'm going to call it the life cycle of a product, with being able to see the manufacturing, being able to see, what's the stage that it's in. So is it in stock? Is it out of stock? Is it being ordered? That the ingredients, the production, all of that, and the expected delivery date. Those are all very, very beneficial. And we're looking at manufacturing here, but the same thing is true if it's just straight inventory. You need to be able to know if you've sold it, is it in stock? When is it going to be in stock? There's a lot of variables here in inventory. So I think we're just digesting.
That's a great point, Liz. And just on that resell topic, for companies that are, they don't have raw materials or ingredients, you can simply change your grid here. So I can just drag out, I don't need the production or the ingredients, and I can just simplify the grid because I don't need information for my client if they're not going to use it. So let's simplify the grid, super easy, drag and drop it out of there. And they're just going to see, hey, do I have those items that I buy and sell listed out here? And what do I need to go out and buy based on what the sales screen is showing here?
And I think everybody understands the green, yellow, red. So very intuitive.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes, I do have to mention yellow does mean slow down. It doesn't mean speed up, because often, people get that confused on the road, at least. So one thing while I'm here, you can also prioritize your orders. So I can drag and drop those orders. And so when I do that drag and drop aspect, that actually reprioritizes where inventory is going to be allocated. It also reprioritizes how jobs are going to be scheduled. Okay, so that makes sure, again, how your employees are working on jobs or what jobs are being picked out on the shop floor, like in the warehousing functionality within the solution. That really helps ensure that your employees are working on the right job. So all, again, is part of that value proposition an accountant can add is, you're really solving for more than just keeping their inventory and their financials accurate. You're allowing the business to communicate more effectively with their employees.
Nice.
So on the manufacturing end, we talked about the cost of goods sold being really accurate. And again, you can drag and drop these orders to keep them in the, the highest priorities at the top. And with that, you get these task lists. So each of those jobs had tasks or operations associated to them. And we can see now I can assign those to specific individuals. So here's all of the different operations I have assigned across so I've got a table saw, a paint booth, and I can assign those to particular individuals. The only employee we have working today is Shawn. So I can see how many hours are assigned to Shawn? Well, Shawn's got 18 hours of work scheduled today, so he's going to be busy for pretty much the whole week. And so as you assign those jobs to the individual, what they're going to see out on the shop floor is something like this. So you can be a tablet, or it could be, you know, just a PC, whatever device that they want to utilize to log on and off of that job. And so I can see this manufacturing order 21 for this cheese. I can go and click on this out on the shop floor. It helps me understand what materials are required, and also the batch product, the batch I need to go and pick from. So those are the ingredients, the other operations, but I can simply just go in and start. And that's going to allow me to track my time on that job, which is really important. So it tells me what job I need to work on. And then I just go and hit start. And now I'm tracking time. I can also use the scanner here or the camera button here to allocate more material. So scanning and finding that material that I needed to add additionally to the job to make sure that we're capturing in real time that inventory consumption, and any notes associated to it. And then when I hit finish, I finish that, it rolls that up to your cost of goods sold. So that's making that cost of goods sold accurate on your finished goods, so that when you go and sell that product, it goes over into QuickBooks Online. Okay, so that's how we're capturing that really accurate cost of goods sold. And sort of a little bit about the manufacturing functionality. And maybe I went into a bit too much detail about the manufacturing functionality within Katana, but it's something that we can do really well and help your customers succeed if they're in that space.
Well, and I think that it goes to, like, one of my good friends always says, we don't have to be the expert in manufacturing. We don't have to be the expert in this scenario, but to know what the process is and to know who to call whenever we do have these kinds of questions, that's exactly what you're doing and you're providing right now. So thank you.
Awesome. I didn't realize the time. I guess I was talking way too much, but I'm going to go ahead and just quickly show a couple more things.
Sure.
So we'll talk about planning and forecasting. So often accountants and bookkeepers, you guys are experts at forecasting from a financial perspective, right? Let's forecast how much cash flow we have. But what about from an inventory perspective? How can you help your client forecast how much inventory they actually need to hold and should hold based on their planned demand and historical consumption of a product? And Katana really helps them do that. So here's a screen that shows all of your inventory consumption and your current inventory levels of products based on demand and forecasted demand, which you can load in, or you can use the system to calculate what that forecasted demand is based on historical consumption. But what Katana really does it simplifies it. So you can see on the replenishment screen here what products I need to make or what materials I need to go out and buy. So it simplifies that whole thing for me, so I can then go and actually action this. So I can go based on my plan of what I'm forecasting. I know what I need to make, I know what I need to buy, and I'm keeping my inventory in check. Because one of the biggest challenges we see with businesses that are selling online, they invest too much into inventory, and they carry so much inventory that they actually, sure, they keep their lead times down, but that hurts them from a cash flow perspective. And we know that businesses are really trying to optimize their cash flow. And so this is really a value proposition you can bring to your client, saying, hey, I can help you forecast not only your finances, but your inventory to help you manage your cash flow more effectively. So right from here, I can very easily create a purchase order. I can create that PO, open it up, and I'll just quickly explain how we integrate with QuickBooks Online. So on the purchase order, I can go in and I can go and send, once we receive it in, I can also add additional costs here. So if your client is landing costs, maybe it costs $10 or $100, that's going to calculate out to your overall landed costs associated to that product. And then we can go and send this over to QuickBooks Online. So when I hit bill, because we received it in, no, I disconnected QuickBooks. Anyways, that would send it over to QuickBooks Online, and that makes that inventory transaction. So QuickBooks Online is now increasing your inventory value, and if you're going to sell a product, that's going to decrease your inventory value and increase your cost of goods sold with that accurate cost of goods sold that we have in the solution. So there's a high-level overview of Katana. If you do have more questions, we can certainly dive in. But maybe we'll just take. Yeah, go ahead.
We want to launch the poll, and then while that poll is being launched, The other thing that I want to do is ask you this question. So would you like to learn more about Katana? So their poll is up. My question that we've got here is, does Katana integrate with a barcode management or scanning system?
It does. So we actually have our own barcode management and scanning system. So, you know, your warehouse picking and receiving, you can do within Katana to help fulfill orders and ensure that the inventory is accurate. So that's something that you can do directly within Katana, and it's part of the solution.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. So,
Mhm.
and then Heather, do you want me to start sharing slides, or do you still have yours up?
Let me get over there. I could have slides up in just a second.
I have the
so-
slides all here. I can just share my screen if you guys would like.
Oh, I love that you pulled this up while Heather's getting that ready. So go over to the booth and say hi to our friends. It looks like they've
Yes.
got a little fun wheel, and you've already told that you've got some goodies. So
Awesome.
shirts and hoodies.
All
Yeah,
right.
if you just want to go through those, then we'll let you play Vanna, Shawn.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
great. I will just change the slides for you. I'll throw it in slideshow mode here so it looks professional.
Awesome. There you
Presenter
go.
view. I don't know,
Uh,
slideshow. Hopefully, yeah, there we go.
There
So
we
if
go.
you want to book a call with the Katana, you can scan the QR code here. If you don't have enough time, feel free to just email me and we can set up a call, no problem. Any questions we answered?
We did.
So I'll leave it here.
Yeah,
So I
so
will go ahead and count everybody down on this poll so that way we can close it. But so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we got that. I'll kick it over to you, Heather.
yeah, no, I was going to say just subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where all of our episodes. I was actually on there. I was on there yesterday over the weekend, and we have over 175 videos now. So there's a lot of content up on our YouTube channel that you guys could discover. So please do that. We'll go to the next slide, Shawn. And then we also have a Facebook group. So we'd love to have you join us in there, start up a conversation. So you can use that QR code to find us there. And the next slide, Shawn, please. And definitely visit Katana's booth. I'm going to say booth. You can visit their website too, but at Scaling, make sure that you visit their booth and their power breakfast. And then you've got, if you're joining us on Facebook, you can register for Zoom, where we have all kinds of stuff going on inside the Zoom environment. So, yeah.
And
Next slide, please.
our last
And I'll let
slide.
you take over, Liz.
Yeah, cool. So live from Scaling New Heights. So we are going to be live very soon with all
We
of
are.
And as always, we're going to have that live show that's going to be out in the hallway kind of area. So you are welcome to come and join us. It's always fun to watch those recordings happening live. And I know for me, I get a big boost out of seeing your faces. It's a big part of it. And then when we come back, and Heather has a small little break, we are going to July 9th do a deep dive into Makers Hub. So you want to make sure that you join us for that episode. We're going to be talking about Makers Hub, and they've got some AI built into it. Heather and I have actually seen a demo for Makers Hub, and we're very wowed. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And our live episode is going to have Makers Hub join us, and our good friends from Ignition and Practice Protect are going to be joining us. So lots of goodies to be had just very soon, next week.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been, this has been fantastic. Thank you, Shawn. This is really fantastic to get into the nitty gritty. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.